ISKCON Samstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Venskaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Srila Shari Gaur Bhakta ki jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Radha Muni Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to you, Assembled. All glories to you, Assembled. All glories to you, Assembled. Go Srimate. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much for coming. If you would kindly check your cell phone to see that it's silent. This is Bhagavad Gita as it is. Hare Krishna. 5th chapter, text 13. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvan nakarayan. When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. Purport: the embodied soul lives in the city of 9 gates. The activities of the body, or the figurative city of the body, are conducted automatically by its particular modes of nature. The soul, although subjecting himself to the conditions of the body, can be beyond those conditions if he so desires. Owing only to forgetfulness of his superior nature, he identifies with the material body and therefore suffers. By Krishna consciousness, he can revive his real position and thus come out of his embodiment. Therefore, when one takes to Krishna consciousness, one at once becomes completely free, completely aloof from bodily activities. In such a controlled life, in which his deliberations are changed, he lives happily within the city of 9 gates. The 9 gates are mentioned as follows: Navadvare pure dehi hamsole layate vahi vashi sarvasya lokasya sthavarasya charasya cha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead who is living within the body of a living entity. Maybe she'd like to play. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is living within the body of a living entity, is the controller of all living entities all over the universe. The body consists of 9 gates: 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, 1 mouth, the anus, and the genitals. The living entity in his conditioned stage identifies himself with the body. But when he identifies himself with the Lord within himself, he becomes just as free as the Lord, even while in the body. Svedasvartara Upanishad. Therefore, a Krishna-conscious person is free from both the outer and inner activities of the material body. Om Jnana-timirantasya Jnana-shalakaya Chakshur-meditam Yena Tasmai Shri-Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnava Shri Rupam Sarvajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sadivam Sadvaitam Sarvadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishnu He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinamano Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaskute Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Those who are seated on the floor, I invite you to move up, please. Other people may go. Montagues have the same option. One. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham dashi Navadvare gure tehi Navaguru Vandakari. Srila Prabhupada repeated so many times that we're not the body. And here we're compared to a person living within a city. And the body is that city. As a city has different gates, just in the old cities, there used to be like a Delhi gate and this gate and that gate for going to different places. So the body has different dwars, different gates. The eyes, the ears, the nose, so all the senses. So it's understood that the city and the person living within the city are different. And this is the first item of knowledge, to know that I'm not this body. But we don't know that. In material life, we identify with the body. We think I'm Indian, I'm American, I'm white, I'm black, I'm old, I'm young, and that. This is my body, this is myself, this is my wife, these are my children, this is my country. Janasya Mahoya, I'm 18. This is mine, this is mine. But this is the strongly rooted illusion of this material world. That I'm this body, or I'm this mind, the subtle body. And in relation to the body, these are my family members, this is my property, and so on. So here, and then the things that the body does, I think I'm doing. And the things that are done to the body, I think, are done to me. This is also a mistake. Later in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahmayan Sarvabhutani Yantra Bhutani Maya. The body is like a machine, like a car. And we're seated on this car. But the car and the person are different. The running of the car is not, let's pronounce that. The running of the car is different from my business. So, yantra bhutani. But we're carried this way or that way by the nature of this body. Body is born at a certain time, it will die at a certain time, it will get old at a certain time. So many things will happen according to the mechanical ways of this body. It's simply arranged by the material nature. And then I think I'm getting old, I'm dying, or I just had a baby. But the Krishna conscious person, he knows that yes, I just had a baby, or I'm getting old, or I just had a grandchild, or this or that. But he knows Sanyasya, Sarva Karmani Manasa, Sanyasya Aste. He knows that actually this has nothing to do with me. Actually, it has nothing to do with me. And just like, suppose, now I've been wearing this cloth for about a year, so it's getting old. It's starting to, well, not yet, but it soon will develop holes in it. Oh, there you are. You came for the lecture, right? It's starting to get, the cloth is, the threads are getting thin, and soon it will start to tear. But I know that this is not myself. And I'm not very anxious about it. Because I'll give up this cloth, I'll put on a new cloth. But the body I identify with very strongly. Although it's also asamsidhyana, it's also cloth, like the cloth, I take it on, I put it off. But I think I identify very strongly with this body. So much so that when something happens to the body, I think it's happening to me. We see that even someone gets new cloth and spills something on it, and oh, now it's stained, and oh. And if it was costly or if they really like it, then oh, I'm sorry, this, that. But finally we know, all right, Hare Krishna. So one has to think that way about the body also. That whatever it is with this body, positive or negative, what does it have to do with me? Sometimes there'll be sense enjoyment for this body, just like now it's springtime, not today, but other days the sun will come out, it'll be nice and toasty and we'll enjoy. Then summer will come on full force and we'll think, oh, it's so hot. Then winter will come and we'll wish it was summer again. But actually, this summer and winter have nothing to do with my actual self. only in relationship to this body. So sometimes there'll be enjoyment for this body, sometimes there'll be suffering for this body. It simply comes with the body. The body itself has a certain quota of happiness, a certain quota of distress, that will come. And if one is very much interested in that quota, then he's very much interested in the body, and then he's setting himself up for A, frustration, and B, taking another body. And this is the general program. How can I reduce the quota of suffering? How can I increase the quota of enjoyment? Practically the whole society is dedicated to that. Now it's a little more so advanced to reduce the quota of suffering. Then some medicine to reduce the quota of suffering. For the mind is so many things, so we'll sit and watch television, and that will distract the mind, and then mental suffering will go down. Then for some other misery, we'll have something else. For some other misery, something else. Or something to keep the miseries away. It may be an army, it may be an insurance policy, it may be this, it may be that, something so that I'm secure. Basically, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. These become my preoccupations. How to eat better, how to sleep better, how to be more secure, and how to improve sex. This becomes our life. We're working for this. If we don't like if sex becomes disappointing, then divorce, then remarriage, or we just keep the marriage going and we start something else on the side, or we don't even bother with marriage, we just go for the sex part. How to increase the enjoyment. But here, that's not recommended. Sarva karmani manasa sannyasyaste. One should mentally give up these activities. Elsewhere, naivakinchit karomiti yuktamanyeta tattva. While everything is going on, the eyes are opening, the eyes are closing, one's picking something up, one's putting something down, one's eating, one is moving somewhere, one is doing this, one is doing that. Naivakinchit karomiti. One thinks, actually, I'm not doing anything. What is that? Indriyan indriyarteshu vartanta iti. Well, the senses are busy with their activities. Let it go on. Not that uncontrolled, but he knows this is the business, this is the external affairs department. Just like I'm keeping a car, so I have to shine it, I have to service it, I have to put petrol in it, so that it can function. If I become devoted to it, then the car becomes my life, which means I don't have a life anymore. My life is dedicated to a machine. Otherwise, we take care of it, but we know it's just a machine. That's all. It gets the job done. For the Krishna conscious person, he knows that while all these things are going on with the body, it actually has nothing to do with me. Sometimes we saw that Prabhupada would be sort of looking at his hand or something, almost like it was a strange object. Because it is. It's just a machine in which we happen to be situated for some time and subject to it for some time. And when we identify with this body, ultimately we become distressed because the body will cause more trouble than, it will bring more trouble than enjoyment. It must. And finally, attachment to this body will bring the next body, which brings more trouble. So, sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi. Vashi means controlling here, or live. Let's see. Vashi. Yeah, controlling. But he controls the senses. He controls the senses. But while he's controlling them, he knows, I'm controlling the machine, that's all. Navadvare pure dehi. I'm living in this city of 9 gates, Navadvara Pura. Navadvara pure dehi, nayam kurvan nakaya. I'm not doing anything, nor am I making anything happen. Why? Because everything that will happen by nature's arrangement. Not exactly by my power. Sometimes I try to do something and it can't happen. Because nature is not ordained that this can happen. It's not permitting. I try and I try and I try. It can't happen. And sometimes without my trying, it happens. There's so many manuals, how to do this, how to do that, so that you'll get rich. And the books sell like anything, but the number of rich men doesn't increase. Rather, all the buyers of the book become at least $10 or $20 poorer. The Krishna conscious person, elsewhere he's described as Padmapatra Vinamasa, existing the way a lotus leaf exists on the water. It's just floating. This is the position of the Krishna conscious person. How not to get entangled unnecessarily in false identification with the body or the activities of the body. Jiva siddhata jigyasa nartayas jaya karmi. He does whatever he needs to do to keep body and soul together for the real purpose of life, which is spiritual realization and realization of Krishna. Prabhupada says the Krishna conscious person identifies with Krishna. It doesn't mean he thinks he's Krishna. But as Krishna's spirit, he identifies himself as being qualitatively one with Krishna. And he's a servant of Krishna, he's part of Krishna. Therefore his eternal function is to serve Krishna. And that's his happiness. Yontas sukhantara ramastitantar jyotireveya. Then Sayogi from Nirvana, let's see, Sayogi from Nirvana. Yeah. His happiness is within. Yom Tatsukon Tarara, Arama means enjoyment. Yom Tatsukon Tarara Mastatantra Jyotireveda. He is enlightened within. Sayogi Brahmanirvana, he attains spiritual realization and freedom from material existence. Brahmavutodi Gashiti. Brahmavutodi Gashiti means he's on the spiritual platform in relationship to the Supreme Spirit, Krishna. So this chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Purifies the heart, purifies our consciousness so that we can understand practically, experience practically that we're not this body, that we're spiritual beings, and that we're eternal servants of Krishna. And from there we progress further to cultivate our relationship with Krishna, and finally to achieve pure love for Krishna. This is our business. Any questions? Early
So, in the beginning of the Gita, the point is made, Prakriti Grihanani Gunakami. So I'm not doing it. I'm a fool if I think I'm doing it. Material energy is doing it. Later in the Gita, Krishna says, I'm not doing it either. So now, material energies just don't matter. I'm not doing it. Krishna, who's doing it?
No, Krishna's not doing. Material nature is not just all matter. Behind material nature, the Maya is there. But what does it say?
Maya Dakshin.
Maya Dakshin, but no, I was thinking, Prasha Shakti Vividaya Shriyate Svabhavaki, Jnana Palakriyācha. Krishna's energies act under Krishna's direction, but automatically. Just like, let's say, the Parks Department of the city of Montville. It's not that the governor or the mayor has to direct, okay, plant a tree here, plant a tree there. This park needs new swings. Parks Department automatically works. It has an agenda, it has rules, it has a controller, the commissioner of parks, whatever he might be called. Yes, the budget is coming from the state treasury, and finally he may have to report to the mayor. Mayor may intercede from time to time and say, why are you doing this, that? Otherwise, day-to-day affairs, the Parks Department is just working. The material nature, Krishna doesn't have to, when I was a child, I sort of had this idea that if there's God, how is maybe he's like sitting on this big chair and he's got like strings, like the way you've got for marionettes. Somehow or other, or now maybe he's got levers, because it's all gotten more sophisticated. Our material nature's arrangement, this child is going to go on crying. Yes. But from Shastra we understand, God doesn't need to do that. Tasya karyam karanam shavijapeti. God doesn't have to do anything. It's jhana rupa api yasya to change the nature is working according to his desire. That's all. He simply has to desire material nature, do this, and material nature takes the portfolio and does it.
But to some extent, I must have something to do with it. Otherwise, how can I be held responsible?
You have something to do with it means, yes, you have your choice to cooperate or to rebel. That's up to you. You can't run the prison. If you've been imprisoned for acting against the laws of the state, now your control is very less. You still have freedom, but not much. Your freedom consists of being able to cooperate or continue to defy. You continue to defy. Go on slapping. Go on doing what you want. I don't care for you guys. Who do you think you are? We know who we are. We're the state. You're a prisoner. But you cooperate, then you may get early parole and so on. But you can't control when the cell block opens, when the food is delivered, what hours you're allowed to go to the library or to recreation. That's under the control of the prison authorities. Everything's under under nature's control. And what's up to us is whether to cooperate with Krishna, the Supreme Controller, or to try to control ourselves. Something else? Yes.
Maharaj, thank you. So this verse comes from chapter 5, which is Karma Yoga, right? So Krishna kind of taught that subject also in the 3rd chapter. So I was wondering, in what context is he giving, speaking this verse to give some kind of a higher message which is not there in the 3rd chapter?
Sometimes the 5th chapter is called Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Further instruction about detachment. The same message is there actually throughout Bhagavad. Actually, it's Bhakti Yoga in all the chapters. Yoga means ultimately we will have to be Bhakti Yoga. But for our progressive enlightenment, Krishna's describing things. Also, Krishna's Arjuna in the, how does he begin 5th chapter? Sannyasam karmanam Krishna punar yoga samshasi yach treya iti orekam tanme bruvita sunishchita. You've confused me. Sometimes you're recommending knowledge, renunciation, and sometimes you're recommending action. Sometimes you're recommending yoga, sometimes you're recommending sannyas. Please tell me definitely, sunishchita, which is better? Yach treya, for ultimate benefit, ete or ekam. Not 3 different ways. Which way is, what should I do? Please tell me definitely. 4th chapter, Krishna is giving so much of emphasis to knowledge. But again, why are you emphasizing knowledge if you want me to fight? I had the idea maybe I should leave the battlefield. I could be a sage. You're also encouraging transcendental knowledge, but you're also telling me to fight. So it's equivocal. That also is earlier. So again, Krishna is discussing this important topic. These people are confused about this. Should I act or should I renounce? They think spiritual life means to renounce all activities. And since I can't renounce all activities, forget spiritual life. Since spiritual life means renunciation, and since renunciation is out of the question, I have to act. Especially if I'm a family man, I have so many duties. Where's the question of renunciation? And so, since spiritual life means renunciation, I'm not going to do spiritual life, I'll do material life. That's their misconception. They don't understand that there's that activities performed for Krishna are spiritual. And that acting for Krishna is better than stopping all activities. You can't stop acting anyway. Even for a moment, one can't stop acting. So it's impractical. Someone says, yes, we give up all action. Why give up all action? But sangam chakra karotiya. Lipite brahmanya thaya karmani sangam chakra karotiya. Lipite nisapate padmabhakti. One can offer everything to Krishna. Brahmanya thaya karmani. And sangam chakra karotiya. But not be attached to these activities of this world. To be like the lotus leaf resting on the water. Okay? Yes?
The human mind always like to reside or live in past or in future.
Human mind?
Yeah.
Does it like to live in the past or in the future?
In one of the two states, past and mind. Now, how to develop an intellect within to keep the mind in present,
To do
to keep the mind in the present state.
how to keep the mind in the present state. Why do you want to
Past
do that?
and future is a problem what we go through all kinds.
Hmm?
As long as mind in past or future, we cannot solve the problem, we suffer with the problem.
Hmm.
But the solution may be that if the intellect is developed such a way, in controlling the mind to keep our body in present state.
So
How we can achieve
the
that?
mind tends, let me see if I've understood, mind tends to go to the present or the future.
No, past.
But not past or the future. But then how to train the mind or control the mind so that it will stay in the present, which is where the field of action is.
Mhm.
Is that your question?
Yes.
Yeah. In the Bhagavad Gita, there's no recommendation that one has to fix the mind in the present. This has become a big, what's the word, trend in today's popular thought about spirituality. One has to develop mindfulness, one has to focus the mind on the present. That's another impractical proposal. The future matters. The past matters. They both have a bearing on the present. The philosopher George Santayana famously said that those who can't remember the past are doomed to repeat it. We learn from history, from past experience. The future matters. Otherwise, no one can act, because we act with reference to the future. You save money so that you can buy a house. You do so many things with the idea of the future. Right? You're working, but you're working so. I mean, think about it. You don't get your paycheck till Friday, and if I'm simply present focused, there's no consideration of Friday. For that matter, we go to school. Why would one go to school? Why would one go to graduate school? Spending huge amounts of money, sacrificing so much happiness and freedom. Why do that? A medical school. You're practically, working like a slave. But it's with consideration of the future. That I'll get my medical degree, I'll be able to do so much good for the world, I'll be able to ride around in a BMW, and so on. It's calculated toward the future. Anyone who's raising children thinks about their future. How can you raise a child thinking only about the child's present? You can't. You have to think about the child's future. Child doesn't think about its future. Child wants to go out and play and thinking just about the present. But the parents have to be thinking about the child's education, the child's marriage, the child's career, the child's so many things. If you're not thinking of the future, then nobody's thinking of the child's future. It's your duty to think of the future. So the Buddhists may have some idea about just living in the present moment, or the hedonists, they have the idea, just live for the moment. And gratify your senses now. They've reached the perfection of mindfulness. Their mindfulness, everything's for the present moment. Let me enjoy now and suffer later. The Krishna conscious person thinks of the past, present, and future in relationship to Krishna. Krishna himself says, Natve bahu jatu nasav natam neme janadipa. Jayadvaita Vishama, Sarve Vyamata. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all of these kings. That means he's speaking about the past. Nor will there a time come in the future when we'll cease to exist. That means in the future we'll also continue to exist eternally. What about that? What to do, how to act with that eternal future in mind? So we're not focused on trying to be right here, right now, right here, right now. We're conscious of the past, the present, and future, but in relation to Krishna. One who forgets Krishna is confused about the past, ignorant about the future, and also ignorant about the present. In the three phases of time, he's in ignorance, because he's forgotten Krishna. And the person who's Krishna conscious is enlightened in all three phases of time. He understands the past, he acts with knowledge in the present, and he's aimed toward perfection in the future. Is that all right?
Yes. Maharaj, would I be right to say that this thing of be here and now, this
That's hippie philosophy. Here, now. Yeah.
That's comes from the Mayavadis and from the
Yes, it's some concocted idea, pop spirituality. Popular spirituality. Spiritual means to be in the present always. It's just a mental concoction. No genuine, none of the great teachers, Jesus never said, just live in the present. Muhammad didn't teach, just live in the present. Certainly Krishna never taught that. Nor Shankaracharya, nor Ramanujacharya, nor Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, nor Madhvacharya, nor Ballabhacharya, nor no acharya said, just live in the present. Except Charkmuni.
Charvak. Close.
Charki's medicine. Charkmuni. Beg, borrow, or steal, but somehow or other get ghee and enjoy. And don't worry about the next life and punishment for sinful activities. There's no such thing, just enjoy. The demons actually, and the material, the hyper-materialists have this idea, just live in the present. Their life ultimately is irresponsible. Because they want to enjoy now, they want to escape the consequences that will come in the future. Therefore they're foolish. And they suffer. They want to be here now, but they don't understand what now is about. They don't understand the laws of nature, the laws of karma that govern now. They don't understand that now, the situation that they're in is a result of their past activities. But really, again, they're ignorant about the past, they're ignorant about the future, and they're confused about the present. One has to become Krishna conscious, then have clear vision. All right, shall we stop here? Yes. Thank you all very much. I thought of something else. To be actually present focused, chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
When you're chanting Hare Krishna, you don't have to think about the future, you don't have to think about the past, you don't even have to think about the present. You just have to focus the mind on Krishna. Then your mind becomes purified and everything.